Okay, great. Hi, everyone. My name is Solomon, and I'm excited again to be connecting with everyone through this call. For today's call, it's basically a trainer session where we go through the slides that I've been shared with you earlier that you would all be using to facilitate your cloud study jams. So in the next couple of minutes, I have two other colleagues of mine who would go through, who will lead us through the slide and talk through the things you should know before you organize your first cloud study jams. Like the previous call we had, we're taking questions from two platforms today. So you can, if you have questions throughout the call, feel free to ask via the YouTube live stream, the live chat feature area. Um, I'm looking at that as we speak, so definitely I can definitely pick your questions from there and bring them up in the call. Also, there is a link that was shared in the email sent earlier today, where it's on Slido, where you can also ask questions and upvote questions that are very important to you. So taking questions from those two areas, what the call progresses. Um, Before we go on, I know we met AJ in the last call. I don't know if there's a need to go through a round of introduction again. AJ.
Cool. Thanks, Holman. Thanks, everyone, all leads and core team members for joining. I know it's late in your time. We're going to keep this to like a 1 hour session. I'll cover 2 decks in this session, and then we'll have time for Q&A. This is Ajay from the Mountain View office. I'm part of the Google Cloud Learning Enablement team, and I'm here to talk about Cloud Study Jams. So 2 weeks ago, we did another YouTube Live where I covered the pitch deck, telling you about the goodness about Cloud Study Jam, what it is, how you can deliver it. Now we're going to get into more detailed stuff. So I've got 2 slide decks to present to you. The first one is an organizer deck, and I believe Solomon had recently sent out an email with the link to the organizer deck. And so the organizer deck has details about how to organize a Cloud Study Jam event, which is basically, where do I register? Where do I get technical support on the day of the event? How do I communicate with my attendees? All that good stuff is covered in the organizer deck. The organizer deck is for you to look at in order to prepare for the event. The other deck that I will cover after I cover the organizer deck is the attendee slides. So on the day of your Cloud Study Jam, you will use that slide deck to present. Now, I know that the Cloud Study Jam is basically an in-person event where you cover 4 labs, hands-on labs, but there will be some discussion about what the labs are about. Like, what is Lab 1 about? Lab 1 is about creating a virtual machine. And so what is a virtual machine? So instead of you just having to remember all the technical details, we have a slide deck where you can talk a little bit about cloud to introduce the concept of cloud, and then Google Cloud Platform, pretty much like what I did in the pitch deck. And then you go into Lab 1, what it's about, Lab 2, what it's about, and then you do the labs with the students, and then your attendees will also follow along and do those labs. So these are the 2 slide decks I will cover. I'm not going to spend too much time. I'll try not to spend too much time on the first one because Solomon had sent you the link. It's basically how to organize a Cloud Study Jam. So it should be pretty straightforward. I want to spend a bit more time on the second one, which is the actual content that you will be delivering in the Cloud Study Jam. But that said, there are a few important things in the organizer deck that Solomon and I will kind of tag team, and we will kind of point out for you to take note of. So Solomon, are we good to start?
Yes, please.
Awesome. Okay. So let me do a screen share here. Can you confirm if you can see the screen?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, cool. So, and I see a bunch of people are already in the deck. So this is the deck that Solomon had sent out, the organizer deck. Let me go into present mode. All right. Okay. So what is a study jam? A study jam is an in-person session, and Google has a bunch of different kinds of study jams. The one we're talking about, obviously, is Google Cloud. But in the past, we've seen mobile site certification, machine learning, and I believe there was some Android themed stuff as well. Yeah, so basically, it's an in-person session. It's rather technical. The whole idea is there's a lead presenting some stuff and then going through some hands-on material to get you aware, to get you prepared for the tools that are being discussed in that session. Why run a Google Cloud Study Jam? So now we're being very specific. Now we're talking about the Google Cloud Study Jam. And so the main value is right here on the right-hand side. And this will be important for you to know if someone asks you. So when you decide to host an event and decide to invite people, they will ask you, like, why should I come to your session? And so this is what you want to tell them. Like, first of all, like if you were interested in Google Cloud Platform, you will go on the Google Cloud Platform console and try things, right? I mean, you want to get aware, you want to get familiar with Google Cloud Platform. But for that to happen, you'll have to sign up. You initially get like a few $100 trial credit, but once you do stuff, you set up a compute engine, you run some Cloud Shell commands, you do some machine learning. After a while, that credit will run out. And then you will have to start using your credit card. The beautiful part about Cloud Study Jam is we don't need your credit card. It's a free session, right? So the benefit here, it's a $55 value after putting together the dollar amount of all the 4 labs, but it's much bigger than that, right? So when you attend a Cloud Study Jam, besides the 4 labs you do on the day of the event, you also have 30 days access, free access to do any lab in the catalog on quicklabs.com. And on quicklabs.com, we have more than 230 labs for you to try out, ranging from machine learning labs, Kubernetes, Dialogflow, if you want to set up a chat agent, and so on and so forth. So a lot of variety. There are a lot of different kinds of labs for you to play around with. And if you complete a quest, and I'll talk about what a quest is, you get to earn badges, right? So you get Google Cloud badges, which you can show off in your LinkedIn profile and whatnot. And the main benefit, like I mentioned just now, is here. It's all free, right? It's like a buffet of labs, right? So on the day of event, you do 4 labs with, like your attendees will do 4 labs with you, and then you do like a demo lab. But after that, your attendees will have a 30-day access to Quick Labs where they can do different kinds of Google Cloud Platform labs, okay? So that's the main benefit. This is basically more structural, like what really is a Google Cloud Study Jam? Like what do you do in the session? And so basically it's a session where you as a lead with your team of core team members and co-facilitators will deliver to your attendees, and you will cover 4 labs where you and your attendees will do it together. Apart from that, there's also a special topic, which is right here. You can choose between a Kubernetes container topic versus a data engineering topic. So if you're more towards Kubernetes, containers, Dockers, you'll do the first one. If you're more towards machine learning, data engineering, you'll do the second one. Remember, the minimum we need you to do is the 4 labs, and I'll talk about the 4 labs in more detail. After that, we just want you to do a demo. Think of it like a teaser, right? So after they do the 4 basic labs, maybe they want more. Maybe they want to learn a bit more about containers. And they don't have to follow along with you. They just have to watch you. This is more like a demo, the special topic right here. And then once they complete the quest on their own time, outside of the 4 labs, they stand to earn a badge, which we talked about just now. All right, so how to organize a Cloud Study Jam. So now you're excited. You want to spread the word about Google Cloud, get people excited too. So how do you host a Cloud Study Jam event, right? So a few things. First of all, obviously, it's an in-person event, so find a location. Now, I know that in this call, we also have a few people who were involved in the pilot. So thank you guys for running a very successful pilot. You guys can also help, recommend and sort of be the leaders when other people have questions about how your experience went. But typically it involves finding a location, first of all. The one thing we ask is try to find a location that is conducive. And when I say that, I mean a location where there's good Wi-Fi connection or internet connection, because this whole event is about doing hands-on labs through a browser. And so if the Wi-Fi or the internet connection is not great, then most of the session will not be able to run successfully. And why I bring up the pilot is because based on the pilot feedback, a few folks mentioned that internet connection was one of the challenges. And so what we can recommend is when you do your hunting for a venue, and Solomon can, perhaps work with you on this, make sure that internet connection is decent enough, right? Before the event, you also have to register using a Cloud Study Jam registration form. So I will show you what the form looks like in just a bit. Make sure that you as a lead will sign up on the form, register for your event. Things that you need for the event when you sign up are the event date. Of course, we would want you to have the venue. And also, things like who are your co-facilitators. So you'll put your email and the email of your co-facilitators. Okay. So once that's done, you'll get an email from the Quick Labs team with the unique event URL. That URL is for you to use on the day of the event, right? So pilot folks, you know what I'm talking about. But for the rest of the group, once you register your Cloud Study Jam using the form, you will get an event URL, and you will use the URL on the day of the event. The URL will not work before, it will not work after, it will only work on the day of the event. So make sure that if you have changes to your event, you will contact support. I will show you the email in a few more slides. During the event, like we talked about already, you want to make sure people do the 4 labs. So you will lead them. Your co-leads will walk around in the classroom, help people go through the 4 labs. And at the end of that, you get to do your special topic, which we just talked about as well. Once they are done with the 4 labs, hopefully everybody completes the 4 labs. But if they don't, it's not the end of the world, because when they use the event URL, they get a 30-day access from the day of the event. So for example, if your event starts on 1st March, your attendees will have up till 30th March to complete the 4 labs, plus they can do any other lab on their own time at home, in the cafe, wherever they are, because it's all browser based, right? And so it's important that they come to the event on the day of the event, because that's the only place you will give them the URL. Don't publish this URL outside of the class. We want people to come, attend, follow along, learn about cloud from you, right? And then, but after the event, they can use their account to continue accessing Quick Labs to do any other GCP lab for the next 30 days. If they complete a quest, they will earn a badge. And we also want you to keep the communication going, right? So after your event, don't forget about your attendees. Keep in touch with them. There may be a few of them who did not complete. So you want to send post-event email like, hey, how you guys doing? Did you get to finish the 4 labs? Because at the minimum, we want them to finish the 4 labs, which I will talk about in a bit more detail in a few more slides. This is just a checklist, pre-event, post-event. Most of the things I've already talked about. Use the registration forms. I'm going to show you that where that is. Promote your event on meetup.com, decoding.org, whichever website you typically use. Find a venue. This is important. Make sure the internet connection is good. There's a mailing list, which you already are aware of. There's a facilitator hangout. I'll give you details of that. If you want to learn more about, how to run Quick Lab sessions, there's a little bit more about that. But if you've already tried out the labs on Quick Labs, I think you should be good to go. We as facilitators, leads and co-leads, we want you to be familiar with the 4 labs at least, right? So when you register for your event, you will get an email from Quick Labs, like I mentioned, giving you the event URL. But besides that, you will also get some codes. These codes are for you to access the labs and practice the labs before your event. So you will get enough codes for you and your co-facilitators to try out the labs before the event. We would like you to be very, very familiar with the labs. So in case people are stuck, people have questions, you'll be able to help them out. And there's a pre-event message template that I can share with you. But, this is more like, hey, I hope you guys are excited. The Cloud Study Jam event is happening in 3 days. Hope to see you there. Bring your laptop. The typical usual suspects. So I will show you a template, but feel free to make it your own. So you run the event, everything goes great. What do you do after the event, right? So after you run the event, obviously during the event, we want you to share the slides. but also send an email after. And again, there's a template. You can use that or send your own email. Send the link to the attendee slides. Not this slide deck. There's another slide deck. Okay, so I'll show you that in a bit. And then if you're using Meetup or whatever website, enter the count of how many people showed up. Please take a photo of all the attendee group. There's a hashtag that Solomon has prepared and Danny have prepared, and so you can use that. And then there's a post-event survey that we'd like you to do and celebrate, right? At the end of that, it's basically you getting more familiar on GCP, and some of the attendees will have earned badges as well after they complete the quest. So it's a time to celebrate. All right, so where to register your event? This is the URL. Again, you don't have to copy it. You already have access to this organizer deck, so you will know where to go to register. And this is a glimpse of the registration form. So this is your email address as the lead, right? So one thing I would ask you to take note of is right here. We are all DSCs, developer student group. So when you create your event, what you want to specify is right here. The name of the event will be EDU DSC hyphen your university name hyphen your name. Okay, you can ignore this because this is for a whole different group. Cloud Study Jam is is an event type that other groups use as well. So for your purpose, you can skip this one. Focus on DSC right here. So that's like the community name that you're going to enter. So you want to run an event. So you are the lead, and then you have 3 people from your team who's going to help you out. So each person does not, I repeat, does not have to register. Only one person will register. Typically, the lead will register. And there is a place in this form for you to provide the email addresses of your co-facilitators, of your co-leads. So only one person will register for one event, because when you register, you will get the event URL. We don't want 4 people from the same event to register and then ending up with 4 different URLs, right? So we want to make sure that, if 4 of you are doing one event, and obviously there'll be 1 lead and 3 co-leads, only the lead will have to register, and he or she will include the name of the co-leads in this form. There's a place in the form where you can include, and then each person will get some Quick Labs codes after the registration. You'll get an email. You will get some codes for each person, for each lead and co-lead, for you to practice the hands-on labs, right? In that email, like I said, you also get an event URL link right here. It's mentioned that is unique to your event, and you will only get to use it on the day of the event. So once again, for you to practice, you will use the Quick Labs codes. But for your event, the actual event, the Cloud Study Jam event, you will use the link that Quick Labs will send you. You and your attendees, all of you, will use that event URL link. Yeah. In the event, you need to make changes to your event. Let's say the venue did not work out and now you need to change the date. It's very important for you to reach out to support@quicklabs.com. Very likely Solomon and I cannot help you here because the event URL will not work on any other day. So Quick Labs team will need to change it. So you want to reach out to support@quicklabs.com to get a new link. So remember, anything that changes with your event, it's best to inform support@quicklabs. And this is also the same email for technical support on the day of the event. So on the day of the event, let's say, for example, Quick Labs website is down for whatever reason. You email Quick Labs, right? Support@quicklabs. If you cannot access the lab, if the event URL link does not work for whatever reason, you can contact support@quicklabs.com. Feel free to CC me and Solomon, but it's important you reach out to them and they will be able to help you. That's your first line of defense. Attendee registration. So here we talked about you registering your event. Yeah, that's different from attendee registration, right? So for attendee registration, excuse me, you've done many events in the past. So whatever has worked in the past, like if you publish your event on meetup.com, maybe you gather their information through some spreadsheet or whatnot, whatever has worked for you in the past, you can use that, right? There's a sample agenda that we will share with you. You can use that. You can change the timing according to when you want to run the event, but the agenda, more or less, the format remains the same. Some of the information we would like you to gather is right here. Name and email of your attendee, obviously. Excuse me. Which GCP product they are interested in. This will give you a gauge of what kind of special topic you want to demo. Should you be leaning towards Kubernetes containers, or should you be leaning towards data engineering and data analysis and machine learning? Their experience level as a developer, we're not expecting them to be experts in anything. In fact, this is a very fundamental quick labs that we're doing with them. And so if they are beginners or very new to GCP, to Google Cloud Platform, that's okay. We just would like them to have some basic Linux knowledge. And if they don't, if some of them are new to Linux commands, that's okay too, right? We're not doing way too much coding. In fact, most of the labs are pretty much, getting familiar with the console. And so there's a lot of using the console to click here, set up a machine, run this command, which you can copy paste. So, it's just good to know their experience as a developer. If you're providing food, then this is applicable. If you're not providing food, then this is not applicable, right? It's kind of obvious there. Find a venue. We talked about it already. So make sure there's internet, chairs and tables, obviously power outlets. And if you're a projector, great. If you don't, it's not the end of the world, okay? Because they will have the link to the attendee slides. They can load it up on their laptops. Promote your event on Meetup or whatever website you use. Yeah, typically. Make sure that you tell people that it's a 4-hour-long event, so they know what to expect. You can talk a little bit about what we talked about earlier, like what's the main benefit of attending this session. So like I said, they get to access the GCP labs for free. If they complete 7 labs, they earn a badge. And this is a sample agenda, right? You don't have to start at 9. If you want to start at 1 in the afternoon, that's fine. So it'll be from 1 to 5. Or if you want to make it from 5 to 9, it's up to you. It's a 4-hour event. You decide when you want to run it, okay? This is another sample agenda in a little bit more detail. It's just showing you how much time to spend on each item. So the 4 labs are right here. The 4 labs I've been talking about, this is the list, okay? And I'll show it to you inside of Quick Labs as well. So we're recommending the first 2 hours and 40 minutes to go through the slides, attendee slides right here, and do an overview of GCP, and then the remaining time will be for the 4 labs. So around 2 hours and 40 minutes. And then the next 1 hour, 20 minutes is for doing a demo of your special topic. Remember, this is your choice. You choose one of the 2 topics, and then do a little bit of discussion about, some of the projects that they can think of or they want to do using GCP. All right, again, this is a sample. Feel free to change the timing according to when you run the event. We talked about mailing lists. So there's a mailing list there. I believe there's also a WhatsApp group. So, that's for organizers basically. But if you want to think of using another group for this purpose, there's also one right here, Cloud Study Gems 2019. I'm not entirely sure who maintains this group. Maybe I'm going to pause here and let Solomon touch on that. Solomon, do you have any insight into who can join this group?
So I think I'll follow up on that after the call.
Okay, sure.
All the leads across the world running Cloud Study Gems. And I think a lot of the leads who are currently on this call are already on that group. But,
perfect.
They can just reach out to me after the call.
Okay. Great. And like I said, you have the support link, support email, support at Quick Lab. So use that. You have the groups. If you have any questions, maybe other people who have been through the pilot can help you out. So it's good to know that, the group is there and you can be a member and, follow up on discussions. All right, I mentioned there's an optional facilitator hangout. This is a little bit more about how to run Study Gems. So if you want, you have the deck. There's a mailing list. You can click on that. There's an FAQ. You can take a look at that and find out when the office hours are from the Quick Labs team. But yeah, this is if you want to know more about how to run a Quick Labs. If you've been practicing Quick Labs, you should be already very familiar. But it's an additional resource. So take note of that. Together as a team. So the one important thing right here is the hashtag, right? So we would like you to like take photos at the end of the event and post it on social media. If you want to do that, remember there's a hashtag here that you can use. All right, facilitators, we want you to complete the labs. Okay, so when you register for the event, you will get some codes. We need you to practice those labs, right? So each person will get 5 codes. We need you to create an account on google.quicklabs. If you've not done so, please do so. I'm expecting most of you already have an account because you already have been doing, I'm hoping, the Coursera course. Yeah. So you want to go to lab catalog and look for the quest called GCP Essentials. Enroll in that quest. And then the 4 labs are right here. Create a virtual machine, getting started called shell, a cloud launcher, and creating a persistent disk. I will try to spend a bit of time to at least go through the first lab. I know I rushed through this one the last time, but I want to spend a bit more time going through this, making sure you know the steps. And then at the end of the 4 labs, that's when you can do your special topic. Yeah. All right. So we're going to go do the labs in just a bit. Let me wrap this up. There's a pre-event message that I mentioned. If you want, you can use this template right here. Or you can adjust some of the words here, make it your own. This is just to send people a few days before the event. So you can tell them that, feel free to create an account. The event is at this date and this time. This is it's a hands-on session. So obviously they will need to bring their device. So remind them to bring their laptop, their chargers. For the best experience, we typically recommend Chrome browser. So you can tell folks that as well to make sure that they have Chrome browser installed. All right. How to use the attendee slides. Now remember, this is the other deck right here. I'm going to switch to it in just a bit. That you will use during the event. So when you start the event, you will use the slides to talk about Google Cloud. And then before each lab, there's 1 or 2 slides talking about the lab. So this, on the day of your event, this slide deck is your best friend. You want to use this slide deck on the day of the event. And it's the URL is right here. It's also on the first slide of this deck. Okay. You have the organizer deck. So you will have this link already in that deck. Yeah. Remember, we don't use the organizer deck during the event. We use the attendee deck during the event. All right. So I talked about the slides. You will also get the codes when you register for the event. So you get to practice. Join in the conversation at the end of the event. Take some photos. Use the hashtag. When you wrap up, do let them know that apart from the event day, they have the next 30 days to do the remaining labs if they did not complete. And if they completed the 4 labs, even better, they can do more labs in the next 30 days. So do inform them. One of the things we learned from the pilot is a lot of people, weren't sure. And so please make sure that you tell your students that, from the day of the event until the next 30 days, they have access to Quick Labs. They can do any labs they want. And if they complete the quest, they get a Quick Labs badge and they get an additional 30 days of access, right? So you want to remind people that. And like I said, keep the conversation going. Keep in touch with your attendees. Maybe some of them want to do more. Maybe they have questions. So it's good to keep in touch with them. This is one important piece of information that you want to remember. support@quicklabs.com. For you to contact if you have any event-related questions, if you need technical support, send them an email and they'll be quick enough to help you. All right, so this is the post-event message. Let's say you run the event, everybody's happy. After the event, you want to send a post-event message to remind them where the attendee slide deck is. Remind them about finishing more labs so they can finish the quest and earn a badge. And I'll tell you what a quest is. And then there's an opt-in from Quick Labs. So this is important, right? So I'm going to show you Quick Labs right here. This is quicklabs.com, right? Or you can go to google.quicklabs.com. Now, it's important that when they join Quick Labs right here, Notice this guy right here, right? You need to check this box, and your attendees need to check this box. Why is that important? Well, it's important because when they complete a quest, they will get a badge. They will also get an additional 30 days of access, and Quick Labs will let them know with an email, right? And so you need to let us send you an email, and that's why we need you to check this box, right? So this is you telling us that you are okay with Quick Labs emailing you. And so when that happens, that's basically you let me close this. That's basically you letting them email you, or it's your attendees letting them email you to inform things like, hey, you have additional 30 days of access because you've completed a quest, right? Now, if you've created an account and you haven't done that, it's fine. Not a problem at all. Once you log in, let's say I'm going to sign in right here. Once you sign in, you can go into your profile and make those changes as well, okay? All right. If you use Meetup, this is where you fill in the attendance. If you use any other website, that's where you key in the attendance, right? Keep the communication going with your attendees. We talked about that already. There's an organizer survey, so please don't forget to do that after your event. And this is typical to what you would have typically done in the past as well with your other events. And celebration time. There's a little bit of FAQ. This is in the organizer deck, which you have access to. I'm not going to cover everything except the last two questions. So again, this is the important link. I'm going to keep repeating this because this is the most important link here, the most important email. And right here, the question before, can I share the Quick Labs event link with people not attending? So we recommend you not to. This is an in-person event. So for some reason, if Sally registered for your event and she couldn't make it on that day, it's okay, because you're not only going to run one event, you're going to run many events in the future. And so you can tell Sally that it's an in-person event, so I'd like you to come to my next event, and then that's where you get the link. Okay, so we want to recommend you to not share it over social media, obviously not share it over email. We would like people to come to your session, make it a successful one, and in the session you share with them the Quick Labs event URL. Yeah, because they need the intro to GCP, which you're gonna cover in the session. So if you're gonna just share the email event link over email or over Hangout or whatever over chat, they will not get the benefit of having attended your session. So they can always attend a future session. If something happens, they're not able to make your existing session. Yeah. All right. I'm not gonna go through the rest of the questions, but if you have any questions about this FAQ, feel free to email me, or we have the Q&A later for you to ask your questions. I'm going to switch to the attendee slide. I'm done with the organizer slide. But before I do that, I'm going to quickly jump to the Hangout here. Do we want to pause for questions, Solomon, or?
Yes. So I'll just maybe pause a little bit for questions.
Sure.
And also stress some important points you made.
Yep.
So just to stress what AJ had rightly said, if you look at the organizer guide, there is a slide with the registration link to register your Cloud Study Jams event. That's very important, and that should only be done by the organizers. Only one per chapter. So the DSC lead for your chapter should just go ahead and fill in. And while filling the form, there's a section that allows you enter the names of the co-organizers, the facilitators. So in that particular area, you should include the names of your core team members that will be supporting the event, the facilitators basically. And as stated already in the slide, labeling it EDU, DSC, university name, your name is very important. For the meetup piece, AJ mentioned that's not applicable to the DSC, except you already have a meetup page that you normally use to engage your members. But for DSC leads, you don't need to pay so much attention to that. You can just go on and create an event page on platforms that you've been using before now. That's one thing. Another thing to note also is the hashtag for the event. So the hashtag is on one of the slides. It's hash DSC cloud strategy. I'll just confirm and share that before the end of the call. And filling the feedback form also is very, very important. It's a very important component of the entire thing. And if you look downward in the slides, we might be able to maybe support some swag production, but very important from today. So between now and the end of this week, it is important for everyone to fill the registration form and let us know when they're planning their class study jams. That's a very important action item. So if you're here and your lead is not on the call, please do follow up with him after the call to inform him. AJ, you can go on, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Solomon. So I'm going to switch to the attendee slide deck now. Let me share my screen. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Thanks for confirming. So the attendee slides are linked through the organizer deck, and the URL again is right here. Remember, leads, co-leads, this is what you will use on the day of the event, right? And so how to use the slides, obviously, you want to, let people know the link. Attendees will need this link. So please feel free to share this with your attendees in the session, in the in-person session, so they can bring it up on their laptops. If you have a projector, you can project it. If you don't, it's fine. They can follow along because they will also have the link and the slides on their laptop, right? Obviously, it'll tell them what a cloud study jam is. You already know it, but they don't know it yet. There'll be some information in your pre-event message, in your event publication on some platform. So that's great. But we also want to cover again specifically what is a cloud study jam. So this slide is about that. So you can tell them a bit more about what a cloud study jam is. And you can share with them this agenda, right? This agenda does not include the time, but it includes timing or duration, right? So tell them that in the 4 hours, we're going to be doing 4 labs from the GCP Essentials Quest, which is right here. I'm going to go into catalog. The first one, that's the quest, GCP Essentials Quest. This is what all of you will be doing in your Cloud Study Jam event, right? All right. And then after you do the 4 labs, you take a break, and then you complete, the special topic, the demo, and then, you have a little bit of discussion, take photos, and then do the hashtag. So Solomon mentioned hashtag, so the hashtag is right here. More important than that is also remind people at the end that the story does not end there, right? They have the next 30 days to do more labs. Now, we need them to do at least 4 labs in the session, so they can do more after that. But for example, 1 or 2 people are a bit slow, they're new, they don't get to finish. Please remind them that they have the next 30 days to do it. And for those who are fast and they finish the 4 labs and they want to do more, even better. Why? Because when they do this quest, right, in the session, they're going to do lab number 1, virtual machine, and there's a Windows version to it as well. There's a lab number 2, Cloud Shell, lab number 3, and lab number 4. We are going to do the 4 labs in the Cloud Study Jam event. But after that, if anybody completes the next 3 labs at home within the next 30 days, they will earn a badge. They will also get additional 30 days access. So in all, they will get 60 days worth of access to do what? To do all the labs on Quick Labs, as many labs they want. So if you click on the catalog again, there's many labs, right? There's a lot of quests. You can keep scrolling. There's like more than 230 labs. And if you want to do Kubernetes, you do Kubernetes. There's many labs on Kubernetes. If you want to do machine learning, you do machine learning. Many labs on machine learning, right? If you want to do like compute engine, you just type and then so many labs come up. So take note, the quest we want you to focus on in your event is right here. We don't want you to do anything else. But after the event, your attendees and you too are free to do anything that you want from the catalog. All right. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about that. When we talk about GC, you know what? I'm going to skip this slide. I think this slide is a bit misplaced. I'm going to come back to this slide in just a bit. Let me talk about this first, right here. We talked about this just now. I showed you where to check the box when you join on Quick Labs. But if you did not, it's okay. You can always go back to your profile and make changes. That's your profile. You can always make changes, right? So you can check that box if you did not do so. This is important for Quick Labs to communicate to you, to let you know you have the additional free access if you complete the quest. Troubleshooting, we talked about this. I don't want to talk too much about this again. The email to remember, and go cloud, right? So take note, slides 11. You know what? I should have done this. I should have gone to present mode and done this. Right, slide 11 all the way till, let's see, 13, 14, 15, 16. Slide 11 to slide 17 is exactly what I talked about in the session 2 weeks ago. So I'm not going to spend too much time, but your question now is, why are they here again? Well, remember, this is the attendee slides. They have not seen this. And so these slides will help you talk about Google, about cloud in general, and then talk specifically about Google Cloud, right? This is an intro that we want your students to have. If you notice here in the agenda, there's an introduction to GCP. And so before you dive into the labs, we would like you to talk a little bit about cloud. Like, we are moving towards a cloud first world. Again, I've talked about all this in the session 2 weeks ago. Solomon will have the link to the recording, which I think he has emailed you. If you need some talking points, look at that video. We also shared the Coursera course with you. There's a lot of discussion points, talking points there. So feel free to watch those videos, learn from that, and use those talking points when you use the slide deck and present it to your attendees, right? So I'm going to quickly browse through this. So we're moving towards a cloud first world. There's some quotes there. Whether we're talking about the different kinds of roles, like you want to be a developer. Now developers also have to be about being, like developing and deploying on cloud, because that's where everything is going towards. It has also given birth to new roles like a data scientist, right? And now it's so much easier to do things that you couldn't do before because of the power of cloud. Cloud is basically, think of it as three pieces. It is infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service, and we talked about this a lot in the first session. So feel free to watch the recording. I'm gonna go do this very quickly. So an example of infrastructure as a service is a virtual machine, your compute engine. Example of platform as a service is Google Cloud App Engine, right? Where the software is installed, the OS is installed. You just focus on developing your apps and deploying your apps. And an example of software as a service is your email service, Gmail, Google Photos. This is an example of software as a service. I know I ran through this very quickly, but feel free to look at the recording to get more talking points. And then we come back to Google Cloud specifically. And up till here, we're talking about cloud. Here, we're talking about Google Cloud. And so as a developer, as a mobile developer, when you think about application data, when you think about application logic, or even integrating with other services, Google Cloud has a lot of offerings for you to choose from depending on what your needs are. All right, so that's basically my 1 minute elevator pitch. But of course, when you do it in the session, you'll spend a bit more time, maybe 20 minutes to talk about the basics of cloud. And so again, watch the recordings, do the course on Coursera for you to understand more. So that's that. And now we're going to go into the basics of a Google Cloud platform, right? So before I do that, I am going to click on right here. So I'm going to show you the first lab. Now, but before I do that, notice that this is our lab number 1. However, there is, I'm going to pause that. Was that a question? I heard like a... Okay, I'm going to continue. If there's a question, you just type it in the chat window. So in your class, you may get some people who are new to Google Cloud, and Google Cloud Platform. So you can leverage this lab. Remember, this is not a lab in our, well, it's a lab in the Quest, but this is not in the list of labs that we want you to finish in the session. But this is like an introductory lab to Quick Labs and Google Cloud Platform. So, which is why we wanted to do a little bit of survey when people register for your event. So if you know that a lot of them are very new to Google Cloud Platform, this is a good lab for you to get started with. But don't spend way too much time. Maybe around 10 minutes is good enough. This will let them know what is the Google Cloud Platform console like, where to click if I want to do, if I want to create a compute engine and all that good stuff, right? So that's basically an introductory sort of lab. But we want you to focus on the 4 labs, and that's lab number 1. I'm going to click on that. And the reason I want to start with this lab is because I want to show you what the console looks like, because on the slides here, that's basically talking about the console and the project and all that good stuff. And so for every lab, notice here, you don't have the credentials to begin with. When you click on Start Lab, it will get you the account and the password and the project. And that's temporary. It will be alive for 40 minutes, right? Each lab has its own timing. So you want to make sure that you tell people that and make sure that they finish the lab within that time. Otherwise, this account will be gone and all the work they do will be gone after 40 minutes, right? So if they want to read the lab first, do not start the lab first. If by mistake they've started, it's okay. You can end it and then you can start again. No problems there, okay? So first thing is, I notice my credentials are here. And so I'm going to click on Open Google Console. And then I get the username and password from here. Simple copy paste. I'm guessing most of you have already tried this out through the Coursera course. Some of you have done this through the pilot. So just accept the terms. Click on Done. And then you will see what we call the Google Cloud Platform console. One more terms to check and accept. And then this is the Google Cloud Platform console, right? This is the main menu. This is the project, right? The project will match the project here, right? And this is your account right here, the temporary account, right? And that's the account you use to log in here. So everything is great. Everything is all good. If you want to create a compute engine, this is where you go. If you want to do more machine learning and big data stuff, this is where you go. So the main menu is basically where you will start things with. You can click on this to go into Cloud Shell. I will show you that in just a minute. And if you want to control roles, like which permission people have, it's over here. If you want to enable, disable any APIs, this is where you go, right? So for example, I can type here speech API. Right? There we go. And I can click on that. I can see that, whether this API, so this API is not enabled. So this is where I go to enable it, yeah? Just to show you where things are. And then you can go back home. Okay, anytime you want to go back to the main screen, just click here, click on home right here. Okay, and then you're on the main screen. All right. What else? Let me come back here. I talked about project. So this is the project. What is a project? So you have an account, you will log into the Cloud Platform console, but before you can do anything on Google Cloud Platform, you need a project. A project is what handles your usage, enables the billing, enables your permissioning. So all the permissioning, the APIs that are enabled, everything is for this one project, right? Can you have more projects? Yes, you can have more projects. In the real world, but since we're doing this through Quick Labs has already created a project for you, right? So you don't have to create a new project. Why? Because that new project is not from Quick Labs, and so you will maybe need to pay for it. For the purpose of the Cloud Study Jam, when you started the lab, Quick Labs created a special project for you, and this project is free. So you don't have to enable billing. But the reason I'm telling you what a project is about is so that in general, on Google Cloud Platform, when you're done with your Cloud Study Jam, you go into the real world and you want to start using Google Cloud Platform, you will need to worry about billing and permissioning, And so that's done within the realm of your project. But for the purpose of Cloud Study Jam, everything is free. There's no payment. Billing has already been taken care of. All right. With identity and access management, basically it's permissioning. And so it's right here. I showed you that already. This is how you control roles and privileges, permissioning. All that good stuff is right here. Yep. So these are all the permissioning. Who has what access to what. All right. Google Compute Engine. So now we're ready to go into lab number 1. I've already switched on my lab number 1, which is right here, right? So first, the overview. What are we doing in this lab? We're creating a virtual machine using the console, and then we're creating another virtual machine using the command line, and then we're gonna install a web server, the Nginx server, and we're gonna connect to the virtual machine and run some commands, right? So that's basically what this lab is about. And so I'm gonna go back home right here, and then so first it's asking you to start the lab. I've done that already. That's why I have the details right here. I've done all the accepting of the terms, so we've gone through that. Now, right here, it's asking me to activate Cloud Shell, which is right here. So I'm going to do exactly that. That's your Google Cloud Shell activated. Cloud Shell is a command prompt. It's a built-in virtual command prompt based on a virtual machine that is already available within the project. Every project will have a Google Cloud. In fact, every account, let me rephrase that. Every account will have a built-in sort of, think of it as a small Linux machine running within your account, right? It's a virtual machine already ready for you. So right here, what virtual machines are basically machines in the cloud that you will create in this lab, and they come with disks, they come with some networking, they come with they come in the Linux or Windows flavors, right? So we've already gone into this. We went into the GCP Essentials quest, created a virtual machine. So once again, if you're a little lost, that's okay. We can always go to the main catalog right here. This is the GCP Essentials quest, and this is how you get into the first lab. When I get into it, notice that I already started the lab, and so it's still running, and that's fine. I'm going to go back to right here, setup. That's where I was. And then, I've already started my Cloud Shell. That's great. These are the objectives. We went through that. This is talking about Cloud Shell. So this is not, Cloud Shell is not the virtual machine we're creating. We're going to create a proper virtual machine. Cloud Shell is already a built-in one available in the account, right? So that's that, but we want to continue with the steps of this lab. And so after I open Cloud Shell, I can run some commands. I'm going to do this. I'm going to run this command. This command is going to tell me which is the account logged in. So if you notice right here, this is the same as this guy, and is the same as this guy right here, the same account. You can also check the project just to confirm you're in the right project. I'm going to make this bigger. This is the project, as the same project right here, and that's the same project right here. Okay, so we're good. Now it's about regions and zones. I'm going to go back to the slide that I skipped. That slide I think should have been here. Where did it go? There we go, regions and zones. So when we talk about creating a virtual machine is a machine in the cloud, right? That means in one of Google's data centers. And so the data centers are spread globally all across the world. And so we talk about regions, right? So maybe it's in the US Central, US West, US East, or in Asia Pac, right? And within each region, there's a bunch of zones. US West, Zone A, Zone B, Zone C, and so on and so forth. So that's basically your regions and zones, right? Right here. And so why do we need that information? Because when you create your virtual machine, you will need to select the region and zone. So it's telling you how to do this. So go into Compute Engine, click on VM Instances, click on the Create button, and this is what we're going to use. We're going to call it GCE Lab. This is the zone and the region and the zone. These are the settings of your virtual machine. Everything is default. Check allow HTTP traffic. So I'm going to do exactly all that right now. So I'm going to lower this. I'm going to go into my main menu here, go into Compute Engine, click on VM Instances, click on Create. I was supposed to call it GCE Lab based on the instructions, so I'm going to call it GCE Lab. I can change the zone to maybe Asia, yeah. Sorry, the region and the zone. I can change this to zone A, B, or C, whatever you prefer, whichever is closest to you. And here, allow HTTP traffic. Everything else is standard because in the instructions it said everything is standard, right? And so I've made sure that's the case. I'm going to click on Create. What this is going to do is it's going to create a virtual machine for me by the name of GCP Lab. And once it's set up, I can SSH into it. Yeah, these are just some documentation that you can make use of. Tell your students they can learn more about Compute Engine. So while that is setting up, I'm going to look at the next step. The next step is to SSH into the instance and then install the Nginx web server. So I'm just going to copy this right here. Ta-da! My engine is up. My Compute Engine is up, and so I'm going to SSH into that. Okay, it creates a new command shell prompt window, and it's connecting into that virtual machine. It'll take like a few seconds to generate the keys and make sure you're logged in. Okay, so once I'm logged in, I was supposed to run this command. I have to sudo into it to become root and then run the update command. Okay, so I'm going to do exactly that. I run the sudo command. Now I'm root, and I'm going to copy this other guy and then run the update command. Notice the lab is very basic, very straightforward. Any commands you need to run is already there for you. All you got to do is copy paste. But the important thing is to understand what each command is doing. That's what your students will ask you, and so you need to be ready for that, right? That's why I'm going through this lab with you. Once you've updated the softwares, you want to install Nginx, and so again, copy paste this command, and you will install Nginx web server. Oops, my bad. So it will give you some output there as it's installing, and this is the command you can use to check if the Nginx process is running in your Linux machine. Okay. Okay. There we go. Let me do this. Run this command again. Oops. What did I do? There we go. Okay. So when you do this command, you can grab the Nginx process. You can see the process ID. You can make sure Nginx is running. Another way to make sure that the Nginx is correctly installed is by going into the external IP in your console. So right here, there's an external IP, right? So if you click on that, sorry, external IP right here, click on that. There we go. Nginx is already running. That's why you are able to see this web page. All right, so that was the first part of the lab. The second part of the lab is, before I go into that, make sure as your attendees do the lab, keep asking them to click on this. It will keep checking their progress and increasing their score, right? Because we want to make sure that by the time they reach all the way at the end of the lab, they get 15 out of 15, because if they don't do that, the lab will not be marked as complete. If the lab is not marked as complete, it will not reflect in their training records, and so they will not be able to, earn the badge if they wanted to earn the badge, right? All right, so we're done with that part. We saw this output. The next thing is to create another Compute Engine instance, but with command line. So for this, you need to go back to your Cloud Shell. So come back here, go back to your Cloud Shell. Notice right now I only have GCE Lab. I'm going to create another one called GCE Lab 2 with this command. Just now we did it with the console. Remember, we went into Compute Engine. We clicked on Create. Now we're going to do all command line. And we're going to call it GCE Lab 2 right here, right? So this is just showing you can do it command line, you can do it on the console using the interface. So what's the next step? Once it's creating, I can verify on the console that GCE Lab 2 is created, and I can run some commands to SSH into it, just like we did it earlier. So I'm going to copy this just to be ready. There we go. Take a look. I did not use the GUI, but the GCE Lab 2 appears because I use the command line instead. All right. Very soon it's going to be set up, and then we'll able to SSH in. Now, apart from okay, it's up and running, I think. Apart from this lab, there's a few other labs. So I'm going to quickly go to my slides first and quickly talk about that while my virtual machine is setting up. So once we're done with that lab number 2 is all about Cloud Shell and G Cloud. So we saw Cloud Shell in this lab, but that was just to create a virtual machine. There's a lot more things and commands you can do with G Cloud command line tool, and so lab 2 is all about that. Lab 3 is about Cloud Launcher. Now, what is Cloud Launcher? Now, in the first lab, you saw that we created a virtual machine because we wanted to install Nginx web server, right? So you had to set up a virtual machine, you had to install the web server, everything was a little bit manual. Now, what Google Cloud has already prepared for you, it's pre-packaged. There are some marketplace solutions. Like if you want to use MongoDB, you could set up a virtual machine, you could install MongoDB, or you could already use the Cloud Launcher to just launch a virtual machine already installed with MongoDB. That's one example. There are many other third-party vendor tools that's already part of the Cloud Launcher marketplace. And so that lab number 3 is all about Cloud Launcher. And lab number 4 is about persistent disk. So we created a virtual machine just now, right? This is also about a virtual machine, but also attaching like a permanent disk storage to your virtual machine. So you mount it to your virtual machine. The best part about this is there's no downtime, right? You can do migration, you can do resizing without any downtime because it's persistent. So that's what lab 4 is all about. Yeah, I wish we had more time to do all the 4 labs, but I'm just going to be able to show you only this one. Our machine is ready. I can SSH into it using the GUI, but I'm not going to do that because this is all about command lines. I'm going to use the command line. There we go. And this is the command right here that I'm supposed to copy. And I'm going to run it right here. Okay, click yes. Enter empty phrase. Generating some key pairs here before you SSH into your virtual machine. And it's going to be the same thing like we saw just now, except that just now we did it by using the GUI. We clicked on SSH. In this one, we are using a command line, the G Cloud command line to SSH into. So now, right now, you're in your virtual machine, right? And so the way to confirm is we can run some commands to confirm, or we can install Nginx server using the command line. So you'll feel free to do all that in your session. But as far as the lab goes, that's all you had to do, right? So all you get to do now is the last step, do exit. You exit from the compute engine. All right, so that was lab number 1. Once you're done, you go all the way down. Sorry, right here, you can keep checking your progress, so make sure you do that. And there's a quiz question here. The answer is right like this, ta-da. And you're at the end of your lab, right? So once you're done with that, you can feel free to end lab, but make sure your score is all the way up. I didn't do all the steps. I was just trying to rush for time. But when you do all the steps, you will get the right score. All right, so that was lab number 1, and then lab number 2, 3, and 4 are right here. Excuse me. Lab number 2 is about Cloud Shell. Lab number 3, Marketplace, Cloud Launcher. We talked about it. Lab number 4 is persistent disk. Now, these are the minimum that we need you to do in the session. Outside of that, after the session, you can get the students to do more, complete a quest, get a badge. Now, one final thing. Apart from that, there's a special topic that we want you to do, which is one of these 2, right? It depends on what you like. You do a demo. The attendees don't have to do it with you. Depending on what you like, you can enter Earthquake or Docker. So right here, if you enter earthquake, that's the lab, the machine learning data engineering lab, or you can enter Docker to choose the Docker lab if you want. Yeah, this is up to you. This is your demo. You choose the lab, but please be prepared for it before the session. So there are some slides to talk about the big data lab, right? If you want to use the slides to talk about it, and then this is what you do in the lab. If you choose the Docker lab, again, there's some slides that you can use to talk about it, and then you do the lab, right? Again, this is a demo lab, the last lab, and there's some additional resources here for you to talk to it. And then there's additional resources for cloud.google.com in general. If you're interested in more training, these are some of the things that you can use, and you can share it with your attendees as well. Remember the quest we want to do, that's important. Don't do any other quest. This is the quest you want to do, the GCP Essentials quest. That's what the Cloud Study Gem is designed for. Yep. And then there's a dashboard for you to look at your badges. In the catalog, you can do more labs after you complete the 4 labs in the GCP Essentials quest. And that is my last slide. Sorry, I took 7 minutes over, but now we're going to open it up for Q&A. I'm going to stop sharing my screen here.
Okay, thank you very much, AJ. Yeah, thank you very much. That was really, really cool and helpful. For the hashtag, I already shared on the YouTube chat area. It's #CloudStudyJam19, and then you can include #DSC, SSA, and universities hashtag. Outside of that, for questions, we have a couple of on the Slido chat area. Let me just present my screen real quick. Okay, just one sec. Yeah. So, Light, we have Light on the call.
Yes, I'm on the call.
Okay, so do you want to take it from here for the question?
Yes. I'm just trying to get on the Slido page. Thanks, AJ, for that session. It was really, really helpful. And just give me a second. I'll just get on the. Just a second, please, while I try to.
Okay, I have it shown on screen.
Oh, great. Okay, so I'll start with Amel. Thanks, Amel, for that question. Amel is asking, hello, Solomon, on Meetup, to create event is not free. How do we register our study jams?
Yes, so I don't know if I quickly look at that. So I mentioned that Meetup is not a compulsory thing. The slide deck that I will share with you is open to several other communities, including the GDG communities. So that's why you have that listed there. So we encourage you to leverage on the platforms you normally use for your event. So there is no need to use a Meetup account if you don't have one. You can leverage on the Facebook or in Google Plus event page to drive the word out for your upcoming event.
Cool. Thanks, Solomon. Okay, so I'll take the next question. So I'm actually looking at my screen as well. So second question says, hi, Solomon, can I go out to other universities to organize cloud study jams, or is it just our university alone?
So, I mean, this is just me. I think I can take this offline with the DSC lead on this. But if definitely you're planning to collaborate with our campuses, I think that's a welcome idea. But please do keep me in the loop of this, and then we can guide you around how to go about doing this.
Okay, thanks, Solomon. Another question from Hamel. Hamel, thanks for all the questions. So he's asking if I can host study jams with my co-leads or just the lead.
So, yes, good question, Amel. And Danny and AJ can feel free to also weigh in on these questions. So for study jams, to register for the event, we really encourage the lead to register, right, to fill the form indicated in the organizer deck. However, the study jam will also be driven by the lead and the core team members. So that's inclusive of everyone that's currently on this call, as well as the Google groups, who had volunteered from your chapter, from your core team to support in facilitating the cloud study jam. So definitely you can. And if you don't have any of such, you can then go on and drive it by yourself as an organizer.
Thanks, Solomon. So I think Obalulua's question has been answered by your question, because he was asking the exact same question: if core team members can host the cloud study jams if the lead is not available for some reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Okay, so I think Obalulua's second question as well has been answered. He was asking, can I go out to other universities to organize cloud study jams, or is just our uni alone? And if you're on the call, Solomon says to reach out to him, and then he'll take that offline. Am I correct about that?
Yes, please.
Okay, good. So Amal is asking again. He says, Solomon, during the past study jams, we had issues troubleshooting the Quick Labs link. Some students didn't have access to the platform because the tokens were not enough.
So maybe I can take that one. For the actual event, they're not going to be using tokens. They're going to use the Quick Labs event URL. So that's the right way to go in. Sometimes the GUI does display them, the token option. So that's not the one we want to use. We want to go in with the event URL. So if you get asked for tokens, that means you're not using the URL correctly. If you use the URL correctly to go in, that's how you want to start, right? So open up your browser. If you're logged into Quick Labs, that's fine. The first thing we're going to do is put in that link for the event that the Quick Labs team would have sent you when you registered the Cloud Study Jam event.
Thanks, AJ. And we've got one more question from Angela. Angela wants to know how quickly responses come from the support team at Quick Labs. She says this is important in case she gets stuck during the labs.
Sure. That's always one of the biggest fears of any person presenting. So in my experience, they've been pretty fast. Typically, I get a response within 30 minutes, 45 minutes. They're staffed. They're 24/7, and so they should be very fast. What you can do is, unless you're starting at like 6 a.m. in the morning, which I don't think is the case, typically the study jams will be maybe in the late afternoon, evening. So what you can do is, as a lead, you will already have the event URL beforehand, right? And so what you can do as a lead is, maybe in the morning of the day of the event, you just make sure the event URL works. If it works for you, it should be working for everybody else. And if it doesn't work for a few students, that's because maybe they're not going in correctly. So typically what we recommend is use an incognito window. That's why we recommend you installing Chrome browser. Use the incognito window. Just make sure you've logged in into your Quick Labs. And once you do that, you use the event URL link, and you should be good to go. But yeah, besides the login issues, anything else also they'll be able to help you, and the response time is usually very, very fast.
Thanks, AJ. And I reckon at this point we can maybe give other leads on the call opportunities in case they have live questions they'd like to ask.
Okay. Thank you, Lai. So I think the call is being watched live on YouTube. So most of your questions have been typed in the live chat area. But as of now, most of the questions we have there have been also asked on the Slido channel.
Great.
The one raised by students about not having access to the Google Slides for the organizer deck, I've already pushed that to the team. And currently we're working on that. So definitely we'll reach out to you for the students affected. I found out that that's not affecting every of the leads. So only a few leads are affected like that. So definitely follow up with the leads that are affected and see how we can get that resolved as soon as possible. Outside of that, I think we have all of the questions covered. Yes. Cool. Yeah, so just to maybe go through a few things again. AJ has mentioned this. I'm just trying to emphasize this. It's very important for everyone interested in driving the class study jams, or everyone hosting the class study jam, to fill the for the leads of the DSC chapters, organizing class study jams to fill the class study jams form to register to host the class study jams event. It's very important, and we really want the lead per chapter. So I saw a question on YouTube about if the lead is not available, can someone else host? Please reach out to your lead and have him fill the form while you as the facilitator can definitely facilitate the event. But for filling out the form purposes, to also ease the flow of communication, the way we support you, we encourage that the leads fill out the registration form for the Class of Jams event before the end of this week, by Friday latest. I'm just taking a final look at YouTube because I know we are almost, we still have some time, but we are actually out of time. Okay. As of now, there's no question on the YouTube live chat area. Lai, I don't know if there's any other question you've seen anywhere else.
Well, I've checked. Thanks, Solomon. I've checked on Slido, and it looks like we've got all the questions covered. So I think Angela has one more question here. She says, when do we get the attendee slides? Does this happen after we're registered?
Okay, so I can quickly maybe add, provide some thoughts on that. So the attendee slide has already been shared with everyone. I mean, it's already in the organizer deck. So once you're in the organizer, there's a link to it. You can definitely click that open. My belief is, and I think that Daniela can maybe correct me if I'm wrong, is that everyone already has access to it and everyone can click through from the deck to the slides.
Yes, Solomon, the attendee slide deck, the link to it is provided within the organizer deck.
Okay. Cool. So, Angela, I think that answers your question. But let us know if you have any challenges with the link. Okay, so I think there's no question as of now. This call is recorded live on YouTube. So with the same link, everyone can come back to rewatch this video if you'd want to. I'll use time out to maybe say a big thank you to Ella, to Lai, and the rest of the team who are unavoidably unable to join the call today. Thanks everyone for helping to put this together. I'm excited about what you guys will do with your class study jams. We've already been seeing some stories, some of you sharing hashtags, sharing your certificates on social media, showing the excitement you're seeing with the future, the new career path you're looking to begin with cloud, and we're excited about that. So please do keep us in the loop of these stories. And thanks, team, for putting this together. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thanks, everyone. Thanks, Solomon.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks. Have a great week ahead.
Yeah, bye.
Yeah, bye.